The first Kentucky Derby was won by a Negro jockey named Oliver Lewis on a horse named Aristide in 1873. Isaac Murphy was the first Negro jockey to win 3 Kentucky Derbies back-to-back. America's first great spectator sport was dominated by Negroes. Win 3 Kentucky Derbies back-to-back. If the Negro jockeys were so influential in the last century, what happened to them? Why were they drummed out of the sport in America? This documentary is entitled He Rides to Win. It's about the first Negro jockey to break the color line this century. His accomplishment was both a triumph and a tragedy. At Golden Gate Fields in California, in his debut race, there was a terrible spill in which he was killed. My contention is to prove that he was given that horse that had thrown 2 other jockeys the weeks before. His career, he encountered such personalities as Eddie R. Carroll, Cap Calloway, Johnny Longman. I also tell the story of the rise and fall of the Negro jockey in the last century, and the story of Jim Crow and how it affected Negro athletes in America. Long before baseball, became America's favorite pastime. Before basketball captured the imagination of America's youth. Thoroughbred horse racing was America's first great spectator sport. Thoroughbred horse racing developed in the South by wealthy landowners. As a result, the first jockeys were slaves. These Negroes were the first superstar athletes. There were hundreds of Negro jockeys in the sport before the Civil War. They dominated the sport, made thousands of dollars, which made them national figures. Presidents shook their hands and rich men tipped their hats to them. And what happened to them? Why were they eliminated from the sport? Currently, there are only 2 Negro jockeys in the Horse Racing Hall of Fame. Ike Murphy, the first rider to claim back-to-back Kentucky Derbies, 1890-1891. And Willie Sims, national riding champion in 1893 and 1894. The last jockey to win a major stake race was in 1904. Jimmy Lee took the Travers at Saratoga. Jimmy Winkfield was the second Negro to win back-to-back derbies, but had to leave the United States. Becoming Russia's national champion in 1904. The success of Negro Jockeys led to a backlash, especially in the East. When Winkfield tried to crack the New York circuit, he got nowhere because white jockeys had formed an anti-colored union. This was the same anti-colored union that a Negro jockey by the name of Freddie Rose, the first Negro to ride in the modern era, ran into. It ultimately led to his death on the track in 1959 at Golden Gate Fields in California. So in actuality, Jackie Robinson did not integrate American professional sports. This is a long buried accomplishments of the Negro jockey. A story of how they competed right alongside white jockeys, sharpening their skills, because everyone's equal on the turf and under it. In 1896, the Supreme Court handed down their decision on the case of Plessy versus Ferguson, denying rights to ex-slaves, upholding the practice of separate but equal. This opened the door for Jim Crow laws, excluding the Negro from mainstream society. The Negro jockey was not able to apply for membership at the Jockeys Guild in America. Who is this jockey? Why, with only 5 months of activity, did he become the first professional in the shortest time ever? For the first time in the history of the national track of the Republic of Panama, history was made. An apprentice jockey by the name of Freddie Rose had over 30 wins in 5 months of activity. He made it to the professional ranks in the shortest time ever. This was the first of 2 history-making events in his career. The second would be the first Negro to ride on a major league track in America in the modern era. Freddie Rose broke the color line in October of 1959 by riding in a race at Golden Gate, Oakland, California. This was equivalent to Jackie Robinson's accomplishment in baseball. On October 24th, 1959 began as a good day for Freddie Rose. He was about to ride on a major league track. It was 1959, 4 years before the Civil Rights Movement, and this was a major accomplishment for a Negro in America. There were signs hanging in the places that read, "Nigger, read and run." This was the prevailing wind of the time. Race started like any other, from the first back turn to the first quarter pole. At this point in the race, every jockey is preparing to make his move. It is in the stretch run. This is where the race is won or lost. Freddie's Mount High Gain is battling it out with Verling Moker's Mount Brass section. Freddie's mount bore out badly in the turn and went down, taking Brass section with him. Freddie's mount landed on him, paralyzing him instantly. Merlin Volker was also injured with 4 broken ribs. Both jockeys are rushed to Herrick Hospital in Oakland, California. Disastrous spill came at Golden Gate Field yesterday as 2 jockeys were injured, one critically in the first race. At left, High Gain is down while Brass section is going down, and Merlin Volker, who has suffered 4 broken ribs, hits the turf. At right, Fred Rose, in a coma at Herrick Hospital with serious injuries, lies unconscious. At his Mount High Gain regains his feet. Volker is down.